feels so good to be back. Hello, everyone. Welcome to Coffee Talk. We are your hosts, the small but mighty Southborough Youth and Family Services Department. My name is Sarah Castle, and with me this morning, we have Megan Island, who's our Assistant Director. Good morning, Megan.
Good morning.
And Shannon Knyman, who is our Program Coordinator. Good morning, Shannon.
Good morning.
And I know I've seen you both, but I'm so happy to see you here on Coffee Talk. I've missed you. It's only been a week off, but
yeah,
hearing that music this morning, it's like coming home again. You both are like, I don't know if I feel that strongly about coming back on Coffee Talk. No, I'm just kidding. So Happy New Year, everybody.
Yeah, Happy New Year.
Yeah.
Happy New Year.
2020 in the rearview mirror. Woo!
I saw I wish I could share. I should have been prepared. There's an image, maybe I'll post it on the comments after today. It's a group of people who are all huddled together, hiding around a corner, and they've got a broom and they're trying to open a door that says 2021 with the door handle. And they're kind of like, so yes, 2020 is in the rearview mirror. And please, I hope 2021 has some really great things to come. Although I think it's really important for us to recognize that even though 2020 was hard, that there were a lot of really important lessons learned and things to appreciate coming out of 2020.
Yeah.
So,
agreed.
So, just like I think we say this often, that some of our biggest challenges bring us our most valuable skills and make us more resilient and help us to appreciate what's really the most important things in life. So.
That's right. What's your favorite quote? A smooth
sail. Yes, a smooth sea never made a skillful sailor.
Yes.
Yes, absolutely. Let's toast to that. Cheers. Oh, Shannon, I was expecting us to have matching mugs this morning.
No. Actually, to be totally honest, I do have the matching mug here, but it's from yesterday. It has all kinds of...
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
So don't drink that.
That's right.
These mugs were given to us by our very own Christina McCarthy. Christina, shout out to you. She's coming on next week, actually, so we'll talk a little bit about her toward the end of today's episode. But it feels really weird to hold this. I poured my iced coffee into this and it's like freezing cold. Feels a little weird. Anyways, did you both have a lovely winter break? And if you celebrated holidays with your families?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Very relaxing.
Yeah.
Yeah, you took time off, Megan. And
yes. Yep.
We're always
got a lot of reading done.
Oh, good.
Yeah.
That's great. It really was, and I've heard this from so many people, it was really nice to be at home and not be dressing up all fancy. And, of course I missed that, but and going from home to home, making sure you have to be somewhere at a certain time and you have to make something to bring. And it really was, maybe that's an example of what we were just talking about, things to appreciate about 2020.
Yeah.
Being able to be present in the moment with your family. So, Well, I know this is the time of year, come the new year, where often people are making New Year's resolutions. Some people are very anti-resolution because it's like a cliche thing to do. But I'm in the camp or of the opinion that if you have to use New Year's Day or the new year as a reason to finally or to push the reset button, I think it's great. Whatever reason you need to push the reset button to prioritize yourself or whatever goals you've been trying to achieve, it's wonderful. So Shannon, talk to us a little bit more about why we, or what we were talking about in preparation for talking about New Year's resolutions today?
Yeah, I think that we kind of wanted to talk about it because changing behavior is very hard to do. And it's about 80% of people who make resolutions end up not following through with them. And you take a guess as to when most people stop their resolution, that behavior. How long do you think it takes?
A month, 2 months?
2 months?
Oh, 2 months.
Yeah.
What do you think, Megan?
Oh, 3 weeks.
3 weeks? Yeah, it's generally people are done by about January 19th. So right around the corner.
Yeah.
And, and the University of Scranton had done a study where they followed 200 people. And 77% were able to keep their resolutions for a week. And then after that, at a month, 64% reported success. And then that fell to 50% after 3 months, 46% after 6 months, and then only 19% deemed themselves successful in reaching their goals. So
I think we should just sign off right now then.
Right.
Like, good luck, everyone.
Right.
It's great to see you. Welcome back.
Yeah, so I mean, it sounds like a lot of bad news, but we're here today to talk about the fact that it's a lot about goal setting. It's less about this idea of willpower. So we want to see you, if you've made a resolution, you know, if you want to share with us in the comments what your resolutions are. We'd love to hear them, and hopefully our discussion today will help you to stick with them. Yeah.
Great.
And I mean, lots of different resolutions, you know, probably exercising more and losing weight is number one.
Yeah. Yeah. I am in that camp. I have long struggled with maintaining a healthy weight, and for my own energy. I've got 2 young children at home who really are very active and need mom and dad to get on the floor. I mean, they're like gladiator active. So in fact, family members for Christmas gave them all sorts of like gladiator gear, and I'm not joking. So I joined, and I'm hoping there's some added pieces here that will hopefully help me stick to it. But I'm really looking forward to today's conversation to kind of help me be more successful. But it's a move more challenge. So unfortunately, because of COVID and the work that we do, we sit a lot and we're in front of a screen a lot. So this is a move more challenge. I paid $25 along with a bunch of other people. And if I successfully meet the challenge, which is I get 5 days of rest out of 30, and all I need to do is commit to 30 minutes of exercise a day. And that can be cardio or, you know, whatever. So I'm in that camp. And I also kind of made a declaration at the beginning. I think this is another common sort of general resolution. I literally bought a notebook and I put right across the top of it, Operation Self-Care. So just in general, whether it's, you know, exercise or just prioritizing yourself, I think that's another resolution that people often take on, but there's others too.
Organizing, saving money is a big one. Quitting smoking or drinking less, you see a lot of that.
Yeah, I was going to say something about habits. trying to break habits that, you know, may not be the most healthy.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Or getting
learning new habits. Some people are like wanting to learn to play instruments or starting new classes, things like that are other things I'm hearing people wanting to start in the new year.
I was just thinking too, getting more sleep. Another example. But yeah, so there's many of them.
Yep. So those are the common ones, but you know, we all have different ones, and it can be hard to set goals. And I think, Sarah, you have some thoughts that you wanted to share with folks about goal setting.
Yeah, well, I was going to share, I thought I'd start by sharing an activity that I have done on myself, but also in our work here with clients, something called a decisional balance. I think this is the really key thing here is that we all benefit from not achieving our goals sometimes. Like, I would love to stay in bed. My Move More challenge, I have to fit it in at 5 a.m. Right? So because that's Megan, that face. That's the only time of day that I'm going to get it done. And I've been successful 2 days in a row now. Woo! But I benefit from not achieving that goal, right? So there's all these different dimensions that go into making a decision about achieving a goal. So I thought I would briefly share. I've got to share my screen again here. Where are you? So this is something called a decisional balance, and maybe it's something that would be of help to somebody who's watching. But Megan, did you have a goal, either a personal goal or an example that we could use to sort of plug this in here?
I did, yes. So this kind of goes along with one of the things we've been talking about with exercise and making that kind of change is I would love to do yoga regularly.
Christine Nelson, if you're watching, who was a guest a couple
that episode.
Yeah, doing yoga. So Megan would like to do yoga, and so down here we're going to plug in not do yoga. Okay, I'm going to plug those in. So this activity, we won't do the whole thing exhaustively. There's so many things that we could list, but just briefly, doing yoga, what are some of the pros there?
Well, it's exercise, so that's obviously good. It's a de-stressor.
Okay.
It would build up my core strength, which is good because I have back issues from sitting all day. Doesn't help.
Yep.
You get to wear comfy pants.
Oh, yeah.
Comfy pants. An excuse to buy comfy pants. All right, how about, I'm going to go down. What are some of the benefits of not doing yoga?
I would have more time to do other things.
Things like read.
Watch TV.
I'm sure it's probably pretty hard to read and do yoga at the same time, right?
Yes. Yeah. Other pros of not doing yoga. Well, I haven't done any yoga in a really long time, so it might be uncomfortable.
Won't be
initially. So.
Okay. Can you think of any others? Okay, we're going to move on because it's hard for you to come up with them, which is actually part of why this activity is so helpful. The cons of doing yoga?
It takes up time. Again, it might be uncomfortable, might be.
Maybe sore.
Yeah.
Oops. I'm not going to fix my spelling. Time is of the essence here. We have a lot to talk about. All right. I'm going to move on. Any cons of not doing yoga?
My back hurts. I know that like I should do it, so it bothers me that I'm not doing it.
Guilt, shame. You have yoga shame.
Yoga shame.
Yes.
Wow.
I'm gonna coin a new term.
Yeah.
I think that it would, like, I'm stressed at times, so I think, you know, I know that it would, I guess that still goes with the guilt that I know it would be good.
Yeah. Well, if you're feeling stressed, you know, you talked about yoga being a stress reliever, then you continue to have stress without an outlet to help you with that. All right, let's stop there. I just want to point out, I think it was easier for us to come up with answers both here and here, right? Which is part of the trick. Because most of the time, the thing that we're considering doing actually has some benefit to us. And so it usually is easier. But this activity is really just about sharing some or examining some of the different dimensions. And really, we went through that really fast, but I think if you're kind of in that pre-contemplation stage or contemplation stage of making a change, that kind of an activity or making a pros and cons list even can be really helpful in helping you decide if you want to in fact make this change, if you're ready for it, because there's different levels of readiness for change. And so maybe, you know, after you come out of something like that, you might decide, okay, I'm not quite there yet. I'm not quite ready to run the race or do yoga, but maybe what I am willing to do is this, you know, because if Megan's time is precious, she's only got so much time in the day to do these things that she wants to do. She may not be willing or ready to give up on her time for some of those other things, but she might, you know, so it kind of helps you talk it out with a piece of paper. So
yeah, and those are, it kind of talks to some of the traps of why people don't make, you know, why they can't see their resolutions come to fruition. And one of those that we were talking about is that, you know, you make your resolution too big, that it's something that's really overwhelming, that it seems like a really great idea. You know, you're not really a runner, but you want to run a marathon. That's pretty lofty. You know, that might be just too much. So, and sometimes too, we don't anticipate obstacles, that it's just like tomorrow, I'm going to run that marathon, or I'm going to start that yoga, or, you know, and then what happens if, and we're talking a lot about like exercise, but, you know, what about like, if we were talking about saving money and a big, you know, something happens to the roof.
A big sale at JCPenney.
But, you know, something totally unexpected happens. You know, that's something that people don't really think too much about, that you need to be prepared for things getting in your way.
Right. Yeah. And making a plan ahead of time. So let's say, for example, you're trying to quit a habit. If you're somebody who is trying to stop smoking, for example, you have to have the expectation that there's going to be setbacks. You have to, and you have to plan for that. Plan ahead now before you start this journey. What are you going to do when that happens? Not if it happens, but when it happens. Because life, you know, you can't predict everything that's going to happen. And so if you don't make a plan for setbacks or barriers, then you're not likely to be as successful as you want to be.
Right. And then that talks about a lot of times we approach behavior changes with an all or nothing kind of mentality, so that if you do hit that setback, that it's like, well, forget it, I can't do it.
Right.
That,
I'm done.
Exactly.
Yeah,
right.
I was
that
not successful.
Right. It has to be perfect.
Meanwhile, there were a lot of little successes that you chose.
Right.
You didn't choose, but maybe you didn't notice because you had your goal set on this one thing or nothing.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep. So, and then kind of in the same vein as like we get off track, and then when we get off track, we beat ourselves up, and you know, we're so focused again on the negative, that you've done, you know, we've done poorly, I've done poorly, I can't do it, just forget it. You know, that again, it's celebrating those little successes.
Yeah, you might even, this reminds me of a conversation we've had with Lisa, who's our graduate intern this year, who's been on the show. Hi, Lisa, if you're watching. But, you know, maybe keeping track in writing a gratitude journal, or just keeping track of your successes and really trying to train your brain to think positively. That, you know, I'm sure people can relate to this, but in my own personal health goals, I have a tendency, if I've slipped up once, then I go, forget it, the day is ruined. And then I just make a whole series of bad decisions the rest of the day, instead of just saying, that's okay, because look, you know, up until that point, you were doing great. So yeah, you know, maybe writing down, keeping a focus on the positive, writing down some of those small successes would be really helpful. So that as part of your relapse training, or you know, planning ahead for those times that you have a setback.
Yeah. So you guys have been involved in something called the SUD program, which I'm not even sure what that is an acronym of. So, and it talks a lot about behavior change that we could kind of plug into New Year's resolutions. So
sure, yeah.
You guys need to tell me what is SUD?
That's our substance use diversion program.
All right.
Yeah, and so that is about behavior change. And there is a big focus on goal setting. And there are some really important points about setting goals that directly applies to this conversation. And I think one of the most important points that we start with when we're talking about goals is that we state our goals in a positive way. So you talk about what you're going to do rather than what you're like not going to do. So I will do this instead of I'm going to stop doing this, or I won't do this. And I just think approaching it in that way, and like a positive, strength-based way, like starts you off in a very different tone than the opposite.
It's kind of like what we were just talking about, you know, how important positive thinking is.
Yeah. So that's one of the first things we approach it with. And then it's important to make the goals specific. And so that touches on one of those traps that you were talking about, Shannon, with sometimes those big goals are so overwhelming, like that I want to run a marathon goal. That's really big for someone who's never run before. So let's make it more specific and break it down. So what's the first step to running a marathon?
Or even I've heard people say, I want to get healthy.
Right.
It's not.
What does that mean?
What does that mean?
Yeah. Because that could mean a lot of different things for everyone. That could mean sleeping better, eating more healthy, or anything like that. It's also important for goals to be measurable, so you know what you're trying to attain. And measurable can mean different things for different kinds of goals, but you want to know what you're looking for, so you know when you've achieved the goal, and then you can, like we were talking about, track that progress and track those successes. You want to make sure they're achievable and realistic as well. So this is how you can make sure we're avoiding those traps that Shannon was talking about. Another important piece when we talk about the goals in the SUD program, but really in any goal setting, is making sure that the goals you're setting are in your control, because you don't want them to be you don't want it to be someone else's behavior that you're trying to control. So You don't want a goal to be, I'm going to try to make sure my spouse stops eating sugar, or something like that, because you're not going to be able to achieve that goal.
Right. Or if you have a goal that has something to do with improving your relationship with somebody, that can be a goal, but you have to be really specific, because it has to be about what you can contribute to that relationship. You cannot, setting a goal saying, I'm going to have my spouse stop driving me crazy, or I want less stress in this relationship. What do you have control over? How you react to that person and what you can contribute. So you can't set goals that are outside of your ability to control them, or be about somebody else.
Yeah. And I think too, a big piece of goal setting and resolutions and whatnot is just being gentle with yourself, because some of the resolutions that we're talking about, like this particular stuff that Megan was talking about, comes from substance abuse prevention or diversion, quitting smoking, quitting drinking, even someone that wants to eat healthier. Those are things that affect your brain. And that, again, kind of like the exercise that you guys were doing at the top of the show, is that there's a benefit, even if it's a negative benefit, to different things that we give our bodies or do or don't do. When you eat, it rewards your brain. When you smoke, it rewards your brain. And therefore, to change that behavior, it has nothing to do with willpower. That's something your brain has been trained to want and to need, and to change those behaviors is a lot of hard work. So making those little goals and taking it day by day is super important, because that's a big behavior change. And it's not just behaviors, it's literally the biology of your brain, and that's going to take some time and work to rewire.
Yeah, mindset, I keep hearing that come up here, that mindset is so important, that being kind to yourself, having a positive outlook, purposely trying to filter in the positive, and just knowing that there's going to be setbacks, and that this is a hard undertaking. It's not easy, for sure.
Yeah.
What else do we want to talk about? Oh, Megan, there was one other thing about being specific, a timeline. So give yourself, if you're taking this big goal, let's say running a marathon, and you want to cut it down into steps, like, I'm going to go for a walk today. Maybe you decide, be more specific. What are your steps? Cut it down into smaller steps. You got to make sure that you got to make sure you have running shoes, for example, before you can run a race. So cutting it down into smaller steps, but when you do those smaller steps, also setting some deadlines or timelines for yourself, that will help keep the accountability there, and make it more achievable if you can do it in bite sizes versus this big, going back to what we were saying before about if we make it too big, it's not achievable. So we have 1 minute left, but we kind of talked about this a little bit. Shannon, you talked about it, being forgiving of yourself, being kind to yourself. The other piece of what happens if I fail, that was going to be the next question. But the other piece of that, I think, is finding ways to make it inherently rewarding. I think a lot of people, I shared with my Move More challenge, I paid into this. I'm going to get some money back if I stick with this challenge. It's an external reward for me, to help me get started. Over time, it's really helpful. And actually, you know, when we start to see a behavior change, a lot of these things will become inherently rewarding. Like your body will start to crave exercise if you do it more, for example, or if you've stayed away from sugar for a certain amount of time, when your body starts to feel better, and so you want to keep that going. But you might find ways initially to reward yourself along the way to keep your motivation going. But ultimately, the most successful behavior changes often have some inherent reward to them. So, do we have anything else we want to say? Like every topic we have on here, we could talk about it much
right for another hour.
Than our, yeah.
You can do it. That's all. You can do it, everybody.
Yes, the power of positive is strong. Yes. Be kind to yourself.
Yep.
Think about some of those tenets that we just mentioned with goal setting, and think positively. Yeah. You know, those are the takeaways today.
Yeah.
We are out of time. We mentioned at the beginning of the show that we are having Christina McCarthy on next week. She's going to talk with us about the role that nutrition plays. So we had a conversation recently about eating disorders, and we met some really wonderful folks who help young people especially, but lots of people who are, you know, struggling with eating disorders. But nutrition really does play a huge role in our lives. And we talked about it in today's conversation a little bit. And so Christina, we're going to dedicate an episode next week to talking about nutrition and the role it plays in mental health with Christina. So please join us for that. That's next week on January 12th. Is that right?
Wow.
Yeah, January 12th. So we hope to see you there, and have a great week, everyone. Happy New Year.
Happy New Year.
Happy New Year.